Hello and welcome back to another sports rant. I am your host Max Gallegos, and I got a special edition request today. One of my good friends in Cimarron, New Mexico, just won their district championship. They were real hyped up. They wanted me to make a reaction to their district championship. So I was like, you know what? I'll indulge them. We'll do a quick little podcast on them for them. Got a little bit of NFL news coming up too, so we'll sprinkle that in a little bit. But I really want to talk about my boys. So my boys were going to get up against the Roy Mosquero Blue, or the Roy Mosquero Longhorns, whatever they're called, because they play really small town basketball, if you don't already know. And my boys were underdogs in this one. They were counted out. They came in the 2 seed and came in and absolutely smacked them, 61-43. It really came in that second half. But you know what? I was really impressed. Like, it was a really impressive victory for them. I'm gonna share some pretty damn cool photos. There was like a couple boys passed out with the trophy in the bus, and then like homeboy over here, my boy Logan and Ricky, they got some fucking fire flicks out of it where they're passed out and they're and then my boy Logan was like over the trash can in the bus puking while holding the trophy. So some pretty legendary fucking stuff. They are ranked number 5 right now in the state. So, you know, shout out to them. I think they're gonna do pretty far. I don't know how far they're going to go. They have Alamo Navajo at home, start off the state tournament, so that's going to be cool. But on the game in their defense, Roy is a really damn good team, and I feel like it was one of the stupidest rules in all of high school sports is dunking in warm-ups is a tech. I have never understood it. I will never understand the reasoning I'll never understand why that's a rule and why it's only in high school, and it's just so dumb. It's like, oh, you dunked in warm-ups, that's a tech. I'm like, the fuck? Like, there's no reason that should be a technical foul. That actually was against Roy. So I never really understand that rule or that reasoning at all. But anyway, that just kind of like pissed me off a little bit. But in other words, but they stayed at, like, Roy really stayed in the game for a while. Like, it was up until like the third quarter. Like, it was back and forth pretty consistently, just like tight, close game until the fourth, and they just couldn't stop the fast break. Like, their fast break defense just broke down. It got to the point where I was like, oh, like, yeah, Roy's kind of in it. They have some good scores. They have way more size, and I was so confused on why they didn't use that size advantage. Because they had like a legitimate large size. Like, they have some big kids over there, and there's like at every single position they were out like way bigger, and they were just passive and conservative, and it bit them in the ass, because when it came down to those transition defense, transition steal, like, Cimarron was getting some really good steals and some really like good getting in transition and just scoring at the cup, and Roy wasn't stopping it at all. And on offense, they weren't bullying using their advantage. They were getting out rebounded, and then they just would take a bad shot, or they just wouldn't find a good shot because they have the size advantage. I was like screaming at my TV, and my brother's like, "Why are you screaming for Roy?" And I was like, well, because they have this advantage. They have this distinct advantage, and they're playing so conservatively. They could just be bully balling the entire game and win by 30 or 40. But they're not. They're moving they move the rock great. They're a really well disciplined team. But sometimes you just got to go get a fucking bucket. And they just didn't. They kind of folded like a lawn chair. And I say that with respect to them, because they are a damn good team and they play cowboy basketball. Like, they are tough, and it just didn't look tough. But congrats to SEMA. They played their ass off. Like, they scored in transition. It was the transition buckets late in the third, early in the fourth. It was just getting downhill and then just creating steals and getting buckets and getting to that 60-point threshold that Coach Brazil always talks about, which is awesome. It was just awesome to see. I just really wanted to talk about that. Shout out my boys. Shout out Logan. Shout out Uriah. Shout out Andrew. Shout out Ricky, Henry, Carlos. Congrats, my boys.